So JD, we really can't talk about eating disorders without talking about weight bias, which for folks listening, if they've never heard that term before, it's the fact that our society idealizes certain bodies and they tend to be thin bodies. And so folks who exist outside of that body size can face discrimination and can face other forms of oppression just because of what size their body is. And this is a topic in eating disorder recovery because folks will recover into bodies of all shapes and sizes. So I'm really curious to hear, JD, if you can share some experiences that you've heard from parents, family members, even your own family, of acknowledging or noticing the role weight bias might play in recovery.
Yeah, I think it's really important to note that that thin bias to that thin body type is really just unachievable for most people. So it's a very interesting space. I would say that weight bias comes up with families all the time. It's probably one of the number one things that people have to face and confront in helping their child get well. And I think that's true even for people whose kids are thin. It's just really, really hard to accept in our society the idea that weighing more could be better for some people. And the reality that is that it is better for a lot of people. So it shows up for families in a lot of ways. Number one, I often quote a friend of mine who said, wow, this really makes you hold a mirror to your own beliefs. And so that can be a really painful space, particularly for families who have traditionally held a lot of weight bias and have conducted their family life in such a way that's really oriented to that. It's important for them to take a look at that, not from a place of shame or guilt, because this is very normalized, but a place of effectiveness. How is this going to work going forward in our child's recovery? So taking a look at that, I think, is really important for people.
Absolutely. I love that you referenced that we're going to be bringing in all of our skills to this. It is a deep process to unlearn or question some of those ideals and biases that are out there and we are surrounded by. And it's going to require us to bring our non-judgment, our wise mind, all these skills that we've been practicing. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think one way that we can move forward this is really sort of centering behaviors and change and happiness and the person returning to their sunny self, if that's who they were before, and those things, rather than overly focusing on the scale and trying to control the weight and keep it at a low level. And there's a really strong intersection where the eating disorder is terrified of weight gain. And that's hard for parents to take the eating disorder apart from the societal part. And my experience in being in this field for 10 years and working with lots and lots of families, oftentimes the full recovery requires a little more weight than anyone thought. So it's a really important thought exercise to think about, what if it is 5 more pounds that we need? What's stopping us from giving that a shot?
I love that, really weighing the pros and cons. Like, what are the real cons to being 5 pounds heavier than we thought we needed versus all the pros of getting your life back? And like you said, we also don't want to fear what the eating disorder is afraid of. That's not going to be helpful in recovery.
Absolutely. And it's so powerful and important in recovery because just a couple pounds under can really be the difference between suffering, being in a form of purgatory, or being free to go on and live your one amazing, beautiful, wonderful life.
Absolutely.